Welcome back to this course on the World Domination Custom Cabinetry app. Today we'll be looking at the internal page. These are things that are specific to your team, and we will start with the team page. So from our home page, or the top level page, World Domination Custom Cabinetry version 004, we would go to the second page that is a child of that page. The first one we've already covered, the external page, customer facing page, and now we're going to do that internal page that faces your team. And so the first item on this list is team. And there is a home page that includes both the template that we would use to add additional team members, and then we have an example team member that we can look at. So we always want to use this one, as we've kind of said here, do not use, but to duplicate and then use the duplicate. So this is a duplicate of this team page. You can also navigate using the pages navigation. So I could come here and then click on this. This will take me to the same place this will take me. So this dashboard needs to be edited to be specific to the team member you are assigning it to. So you'll be removing views that are outside their sphere of influence and or where they don't need visibility. So let's just kind of start at the top and work our way down. So the very first item we've got here is called the Daily Tech Triggers, and this is intended to be a morning routine. So these two pages are links that will be entering that page when we click on it. Everything else from here down, all the way down this page, is a portal, but these two are links to a separate area, and this would be team member specific. Now I've got a couple samples in here, and we can see the different dates that they were thrown in here, but these were made from various templates. And so we want to look at this July 8th version. That's the latest and greatest one. And we kind of work our way down through here. So the objective is to encourage your team members to do this each morning. It might make sense to give everyone 15 minutes before your morning meeting to do this so they have the right mindset and feel appreciated. You're not only paying them to do some personal assessment, you're also providing them with a tool to do the assessment. We are three-dimensional beings, mind, body, and soul. And ignoring one or two of the three can be done, but there's always a price for doing so. Spending your health to gain your wealth, only later to have to spend your wealth to regain your health comes to mind, as well as coming home with a pocket full of money to an empty house. These daily tech triggers are the daily reminder to cultivate all three dimensions. So if we look here, we have our table of contents that we're used to seeing. I'm going to go ahead and open this as a page. And I'm just going to pop through here fairly quickly, but this is what each of your team members would do each morning if they wanted to try to go through one of these processes. There are multiple reminders of things and also things that they can actually participate in. So we have a quote here: success doesn't come from what you do occasionally, it comes from what you do consistently. And then we have a proverb here: I believe that there is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord. And then we have our devotion area. So these are just morning reminders, kind of get the mind set in the right place. And then we have our devotion, which starts with a verse: your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalms 119, 105. Then there's some instructions here about the devotion of what you would do. Depends on what type of devotion I've chosen for that year, but typically I'm doing a daily Bible reading, so I would just simply come in here and write something like that I was going to read Genesis 1 through 3 that particular day, either in the morning or in the evening, whenever I choose to do this devotion. And then under that, you have this memorize area. Memorization is not the same thing as remembering. Then we have some instructions, just simple, short, and sweet. And then we just have some suggested things that people might want to remember. Something like the Bill of Rights, or our preamble to our Constitution, or Pascal's Wager, or the 12 Disciples, or some Bible facts, the Apostles' Creed, things like that, things that you would want to remember. You might put verses in here. You might put quotes in here. You might put things that are specific to your company in here, things you want to memorize and expand your mind. This memorize section is an effective way to feed and strengthen your mind and to expand your knowledge. If you want to be able to draw water from a deep well, you must first dig a deep well. Now let's look at this intentions area, and the quote here is: to accomplish our goals, we must distill our dreams into daily actions. From Michael Hyatt. Then we have some instructions like all the other areas, and we just kind of have a bullet list here of the things that we want to try to attempt to do, and you would of course replace this with the things that you would like to accomplish, whether that is something like this: to grow my faith, to read through my Bible each year, to read positive motivating books daily, to pray daily. Whatever these things are, you want to kind of have those things in there, but the objective is to create something for yourself as this daily reminder. And then you have your daily prompts, and these are simply things you intend or have resolved to do, with a daily reminder which includes a beautiful checkbox. I do love a checkbox. These items are simply Notion blocks, so the team member can add, edit, or delete anything they want to. So each one of these represents a day of the week. When you open it up, it just simply has whatever you want to type in here. You want to change the template, and we'll look at that in our Notion courses of how to do those kind of things. But you want to change the template if you want this to be different each day once you load it. These daily tech triggers, you get a new one every day. You click on the template and it creates a new one, and you fill this in for the day. And so you'd come in here and check these things off as you do them, and do some in the morning, some maybe around lunchtime, and some in the evening, or just twice a day, whatever makes sense to you. And you might have 3 things in here, and you might have 10 things in here that you want to try to accomplish each day. There is no database. These are just simply Notion blocks with a checkbox. So there's no record keeping on this. So these are kind of lightweight items that you want to do, not things you want to keep track of. Then in the not to do section, we have a quote here: take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ, 2 Corinthians 10:5b. And then we have some instructions. Add things you need to not do in this section. Anything you find yourself struggling with and need a daily reminder to not do should be added to this list. Try to keep it as short as possible, and once you conquer an item, feel free to remove it from the list. Some things in our life need to be crucified. There is a time for a necessary ending. Repentance is a turning away from a thing or a thought. Let's name the things we need to crucify. Let's make the things we need to repent of and turn away from. You would want to replace these with things that make sense to you. Some of these are just pet peeves of mine. I do not want to answer the same question more than twice. I've committed my life to that. I don't want to deal with unsolicited email more than once. When I get an email that I don't want to get any more of, I immediately go unsubscribe from an email, and if that doesn't work, the next time I block it. I don't want to hate left lane laggards. I am annoyed by people driving slow in the left lane. I need this reminder to me personally that everyone that is driving slow in the left lane is created in the image of God, so that I don't hate those people for being, in my opinion, stupid. So I need that daily reminder to not rail at the darkness, but to turn up the light. Whatever you need to list here, and some of these would be habits, things that you want to stop doing. Some people might list in here that I don't want to smoke, or I don't want to drink. Just things that you want to either cut back on or stop doing in your life. Then we have our to-dos, and this is the most common one, and this one will show up again. This is our daily tech trigger, so we're doing this in the morning, kind of reviewing it, but we'll come back to it multiple times through the day on our dashboard. And so here in our to-dos, we do have what I consider to be a very effective way of thinking through something that should or should not be on my to-do list, and it's called the Eisenhower Matrix. These 2 fields here are actually tied to this field, the action that happens, and of course all of these have passed muster, so they're all in here. But if we check some of these boxes in different ways, you'll see what happens. But this is how President Eisenhower managed our nation as the President of the United States for a period of time, was using his matrix, the Eisenhower Matrix. So if we determine that double check the field measurements for a such and such job is important but not urgent, then we will schedule it. And of course these dates are way back from something I did a long time ago. These are just old sample things. But because I chose important and not urgent, then the action was listed as scheduled, and obviously that's how all of these made it onto this list. If I say that it's both important and urgent, then it says just do it. That doesn't mean do it right this minute, but it means do it today. And you see here we have 2 due dates. We have a DO date and a DUE date. So this due date is when it has to be done. This is when I intend to do it. So this would kind of be the longest date, and this would be try to do this before that date. And then if we said that it was not important, but it is urgent, then it says delegate it to someone else. And this is a great thought process, just making us think about, can somebody else do this? It's not important, but it is urgent. Let me delegate it or outsource it. You might use the word outsource just as easily, or substitute the word delegate with outsource. And then if we say it's neither urgent or important, we've determined that it doesn't need to be done at all. We just eliminate it. So it's a very effective way to deal with a to-do list and not be overwhelmed by your to-do list. Then we have goals and dreams, and the goals and dreams are tied together with the to-do list. So you'll see here where they're linked. So this test dream 1 here and here, And so test stream 1 is linked to test task 3, and you see that as well here. And what this may mean is there is a single goal and then multiple to-dos to achieve that goal. And they may have different due dates, both DUE and DO dates. And here we're trying to kind of give them some priority based on a couple questions and what role we serve when we're doing that as an entrepreneur, an employee, or a sibling, or a friend. And then what's the effort and what's the impact? And as you answer these two questions from this pull down list, low, medium, or high on the effort, and what impact will it have on my life, low, medium, or high, or my business, then it will give you a priority so you can kind of prioritize these goals. I want to do this one first and then this one, and it doesn't matter what order I do these two in because they're equal in priority. But it helps you prioritize those things. It doesn't mean you have to follow that order, but it helps you visualize or think through how important each of the things you want to do are. And again, this will help your team as well. And then this grateful for section, we have some instructions here. I only have one item listed here, but you're certainly welcome to add 2 or 3. A lot of people do that, list out 3 things a day that they're grateful for. I always list at least one, and then some days I do list more. But we have a couple of things in here, kind of encouragement about this. So, and I'm going to shrink this down. I haven't done that in the template yet, just so it doesn't take up the whole page. But add 1 or more things you're grateful for today, i.e. grace, mercy, redemption, health, family, indoor plumbing, food on your table, a roof over your head that does not leak, waking up on the top side of the grass again, those kind of things. And then you see this little prescription here for gratitude is to take a dose every morning, which is what we're trying to do here with this daily tech triggers, is every morning take a dose of gratitude, force myself to think of the things I'm grateful for today. And if you do so, it may cause shifts in perspective. It will, I promise you. It may cause feelings of abundance. It will, I promise you. And it may decrease feelings of fear and anxiety. It will, I promise you. So just something that I have gotten in the habit of doing for 3 or 4 years now. Every single day I list at least one thing, and some days 3. And then we have our entitled to section. In the entitled to section, if you read the instructions for it, there's a quote here, but if you read the instructions here, it basically says, we've already answered it for you. You're not entitled to anything. Nothing is the key thing. We're entitled to nothing. You're welcome to add something. Again, if you wanted to add something, feel free to hit the enter and it will give you the second line and you can say something or you can replace nothing with something. But the intent is that we are not entitled to anything. And then the big things just being news stories and things like that, things that we run into. And I don't put trivial things in here. The day Roe versus Wade was overturned, I put that in here. The day that it was announced that we were going to take 2 weeks to flatten the curve for COVID, I put that in here. Things that were significant, things I want to be able to look back and say, when did that happen? I add those things here and then I tag them at the top. And from here down, we have like these sales pipelines. These are just portals into something we're going to look at in our dashboard too. But if we were doing this morning meeting, kind of get my mind in the right place. Again, you wouldn't want necessarily every single team member to see the sales pipeline. We've talked about the sales pipeline, so we're not going to go over it, but it's this suspect, prospect, qualified thing. But if all of your team sees it, somebody might say, you know what, I know Dan Willis. He's my uncle. Maybe I can talk to him, that kind of thing. So we don't want to overlook that aspect of it. But who are we trying to get to become a customer of our company? To make sure we don't let that fall through the crack is why that's there. Visibility. Here you can add a embedded version of your own calendar, your Google Calendar if you want to, or you can just add a Notion calendar. There's instructions on how to do that inside the toggle here. But if you want to have a calendar here that is like your Google Calendar, you would just embed it, and again, those instructions are there. Then we have our callbacks, and we'll talk about those at length when we talk about our dashboard. Then we have our punch list. We'll talk about that at length when we look at our dashboard. And then we have our production schedule. Again, we'll talk about that at length when we get to the dashboard and then the delivery schedule. And both the production schedule and delivery schedule we've seen in previous courses. And then if we go back to our team member, we also have this team report out. And of course, this is completely optional, but I have found this to be incredibly helpful in multiple things that I've done over the years. And that is something as simple as asking each employee once a week to just come in here, and you'll create your own template down here, what you want them to put in. Like you'll have it kind of defined of what I want to hear from you. But what you see here is just some made up stuff meant to be a little bit silly. I worked harder than anyone in this company this week by passing the monkey to others. I'm quite good at that and deserve a raise. The things I would be pressing Acme Company on are their key monkey keeps trying to get on my back, and I don't like that. Both catalogs need to have our information represented in a better light. They need to pay their bill on time. So all of these things are just made up stuff, and it's not really relevant to a weekly report out. But what you're trying to get your employee to do really and truly is every Friday, most people would choose Friday over Monday, but kind of the end of the week, what have you accomplished this week? That's what we want them to kind of assess. I was very effective in this area, but I wasn't that effective in this area. And there's two statuses here, a status and a priority, two fields that are pull down fields with a select. And so is everything you're working on time, at risk, or off track? Do you need help? This gives the employee an internal process from your company to be able to say, I need help. What I'm working on is off track. Or to say, everything's good, you don't need to worry about me. Or, I'm going to need a little help, I'm at risk. It may be okay, but to me right now it feels like it's at risk and we could be late on this. And then on the priority, how did you feel it was? Was it a high priority, a medium priority, or a low priority? So those two pieces of information tell the person reading the report out, the key leader, the shop foreman, the production manager, the owner, whoever is reading that report, gives them a sense of, do I need to jump in and help this person, or is this person good? And giving them a warning before things are out of control. So a report out, totally up to you whether you use it or not, but it is part of this member page. Everybody will have it there, and you can decide whether you want them to use that or not. That covers everything I wanted to touch on about the team page in this first section. So what we've covered right now are the daily triggers and the weekly report outs. In our next session, we'll jump on down into a little more detail about the items that we just touched on lightly in that daily tech trigger. So the daily tech triggers is giving you a view or portal into those things that we want to come to our dashboard and see, kind of that first thing in the morning, get my mind in the right place, make sure I know what's coming my way, make sure I know what needs to go out, and all of those things. And then through the day, you'll use this dashboard as opposed to the daily tech triggers to get this view into your to-do list. And we don't even show the not to-do list here, but we'll look at that on this next video, and then after that we'll come to the procedures and then callbacks and then punch list. We'll work our way down this list. Thanks for watching.